Hello, my name is Michael Scott, and today we'll be going over informed consent via the ACA Code of Ethics, a sample informed consent form, as well as the laws and regulations of the state of Virginia, kind of comparing and contrasting the three. So, under the ACA Code of Ethics, it is recommended, there's very detailed recommended information under Section A, the counseling relationship, from A.2 to A.3. Now, A.2 covers information, A.2b, covers information that is required to be given to the client, and this includes the purpose and goal, whether it's voluntary or involuntary, potential risks and benefits, theoretical orientation or philosophy, qualifications, confidentiality and its limitations, fees and charges, disputes and complaints, emergency procedures, and there seems to be some debate from the ACA about social media usage. Moving on, there's also under A.2.c explanation of how to speak to individuals that are maybe a little bit less developed or having some cultural sensitivity. So individuals that are younger, how to understand that you need to be clear and precise with your language and making sure that they understand the informed consent, as well as individuals that English may not be their first language or they come from a culture that may require some more explanation on certain things. Lastly, we have the inability to give consent, as well as mandated clients and clients served by others. So again, inability to give consent might be individuals that are too young or mentally unable to give consent because of intellectual disability or something like that. Mandated clients, again, explaining that some of the information may be shared with judges, prosecutors, or parole officers, things of that nature. And lastly, clients served by others. The ACA recommends that you reach out to any other mental health professionals that are working with your client and communicate with them about your client as well. Moving on to Virginia, Virginia's counseling associations are a little bit more informal because the Virginia Department of Health Professionals, which is heavily kind of gridlocked with the government in Virginia, has a lot of laws and regulations as opposed to self-policing that occurs in most other states. So because of that, there's a few laws that kind of strengthen some of these aspects that occur in Virginia, such as Chapter 35, Title 54.1-3506.1, Client Notification. Basically, you have to post, if you're not working in a hospital environment, how to contact the Virginia Department of Health Professionals in case of any types of malfeasance. Moving on, there's a Standards of Practice, also under Chapter 35, Title 18 this time, VAC 115-20-130. And this requires by law for you to contact other mental health professionals working with your client and inform them of this as well. So lastly, we have the informed consent practices from Wendy Crawford, who is a counselor working out of Georgia. And it's kind of interesting just to see the similarities and differences between these three kind of situations. She mostly follows the ACA guidelines. She does not have any social media policy. She does not post or discuss anything to do about disputes and complaints. And she does not talk about whether the interaction is voluntary or involuntary. Unlike in Virginia, under 18 VAC 115-20-130, confidentiality and records disclosure, you have to actually do this both verbally and in writing. And so in Georgia, it may be different. I'm not sure. But regardless, it is very interesting to see a little bit less information under this practice. The last thing I want to talk about is continuing on with our education under informed consent. There's an article attached that was really good from the American Academy of Pediatrics in 2016 from two members of their Committee on Bioethics. And what this does is it describes all of the kind of ethical concerns and debates right now under informed consent, but looking at it through the lens of pediatrics. It's a really interesting read. I recommend you checking it out. It talks about having possibly recommending assurance through, quote, an ongoing dialogue of voluntary consent and recognizing the, quote, subtle pressures in decision making, end quote, that health professionals can have. It goes over many different aspects of neurobiology and certain controversial topics such as STIs and HPV vaccines and laws around those. And like I said, if you want to kind of understand like the rule of sevens and some of the case law that goes around this, it's a great kind of summary of everything that you might think of, at least from the medical side, of the ethics concerning working with pediatric clients or working with underage clients. With that said, thank you for your time.